He thought he was doing the right thing, but sometimes, the truth hurts in ways you never expect. My name's Jackson, and I work the night shift at a small-town gas station in eastern Washington. The hours are long, and the pay isn't much, but it's enough to keep me afloat. I've gotten used to the silence of the place, only broken by the occasional rumble of a passing car or the soft buzz of the fluorescent lights overhead. You'd think after years of this routine, the monotony would start to feel normal, but lately, there's this heaviness in the air, like something's about to shift, and I can't shake it. My son, Caleb, has been acting out at school. It's a problem I've tried to ignore, but deep down, I know he's struggling. What I didn't expect was that his struggle would drag us both into a mess I could never have predicted. Caleb had always looked up to me, even though I never quite lived up to the idea of being some heroic figure. I served in the military, but never saw combat, and I've always kept that part of my life in the past. It's not something I advertise, but when Caleb started getting bullied at school for being just another kid with a single dad, something inside him snapped. He came home one night and told me he'd been bragging at school about how I was a decorated war hero. At first, I was furious. Caleb didn't know what he was getting into, but as the days went by, his lie took on a life of its own. The teachers, the kids, even the local police officer, everyone was suddenly treating him like some kind of military royalty. And then came Officer Decker. Decker was one of those guys who walked around with a badge and an attitude that screamed, "I'm better than you." He came into the station one night, my son in tow, and that's when the real trouble began. He started lecturing me, trying to teach me what honor meant, as if I hadn't spent years of my life doing the best I could for Caleb and his mom. "You know," Officer Decker said with a sneer, "we can't have kids lying about this stuff. It disrespects people who actually served." It was clear he wasn't here for a conversation. He was here for something bigger, something personal. The next day, as I was finishing my shift, I got a call. Caleb had been arrested. I thought maybe he'd gotten into a fight, or skipped school, but when I arrived at the station and saw him sitting in the back of a cruiser, his hands cuffed, my stomach dropped. "Jackson, your son lied about being a hero," Decker said, his voice dripping with self-righteousness. "You should have taught him better." I could feel my blood boiling as I approached, but I kept my voice calm. "What are you talking about? He's just a kid." Decker smirked. "Maybe so, but when you make up stories about being a soldier, you cross a line. He's in custody for dishonoring the service." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Caleb's eyes met mine, tears streaming down his face. He was only trying to make people see him as something more than just another kid in a broken home, and now he was paying the price for it, for trying to make me proud. I stood there for a second, trying to process what had just happened, but then something clicked inside me. I wasn't about to let some arrogant cop tear apart my son's future over a stupid mistake. I wasn't going to let this go. I walked out of the station, my mind racing. The uniform I hadn't worn in years was in the back of my closet. I hadn't thought about it in so long, but now, it felt like the only thing that could fix this. I pulled it on, slowly, carefully. The familiar weight of the jacket on my shoulders felt different now. It was a symbol of who I was, and who Caleb needed me to be. When I walked back into that station, I knew this wasn't going to be about me anymore. It was about my son, about showing him that even in the face of the ugliest betrayal, I wasn't going to back down. The moment I stepped through the door, Decker's face went pale, his phone buzzed in his hand, and he fumbled for a second before answering. He looked up at me with wide eyes, and his tone shifted from cocky to cautious. "I didn't think you were the type to." "I'm not the type to let things slide," I interrupted. "Now you're going to fix this." Decker tried to maintain his composure, but I could see the panic starting to set in. His phone was buzzing constantly now, and his hands shook. I didn't say much more. I didn't have to. I waited outside the police station as the entire town started to catch wind of what was happening. Word spread fast in a small place like this. People started showing up, whispering about the man in uniform, about Caleb's arrest, and when the media caught wind of it, it all exploded. In that moment, Officer Decker found himself on the other side of the law. The people who once looked up to him now turned their backs, realizing what kind of man he truly was. His abuse of power, his selfishness, it all came crashing down. He was pulled from his position within days, his name dragged through the mud as everyone in town realized the truth. Watching Decker fall from grace was satisfying, but it wasn't what I'd expected. I had hoped that the truth would make everything right, that Caleb would be free to walk away from this mess without carrying the weight of it, but that's not how things worked. It was a hard lesson, one I had to learn the hard way. The truth doesn't always come with a neat bow tied around it, but in the end, I had shown Caleb that sometimes, the most important thing you can do is stand up for what's right, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the odds are stacked against you. And as I stood by the diner the next morning, watching the sun rise over the empty streets, I realized that this wasn't just about the military or about lies. It was about dignity, about reclaiming something that no one could take from you, not a badge, not a title, not even a mistake. I went back to my shift, like I always do, but things were different now. Caleb and I had gone through something hard, but we came out stronger because of it. Sometimes you have to lose everything to realize what you've been holding onto all along. So, if you've ever had to fight for your dignity, to stand up when no one else would, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe, because no matter what, we're all stronger than we think.